All right, who's your next witness?
Detective Richard Neider.
Do we need to have a,
Could we approach her?
yeah, come on up. I need to discuss a matter with the attorneys outside of your presence, so I'm gonna ask you to briefly step inside the jury room, and we will be with you momentarily.
All rise. All jurors are out there.
Okay, very good, have a seat. Yes, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, Judge. Continuing our conversation yesterday, Judge, so that I'm clear and I think the record's clear. In my previous motions in limine, specifically, although some of them dovetailed as it relates to Jacksonville detectives' opinions and Jacksonville detectives' testimony as to historical incidents, motion in limine number 2,
Right.
as we've already discussed, was granted in part and denied in part, and part of the reservation was videos. As I understand Detective Neider's testimony today, because I believe he's going to ultimately be recalled and he's going to testify about different subjects. My first concern would be if his intention this afternoon is to talk about the history of the gangs, then certainly I think it would be the time and it would be appropriate to start talking about his qualifications and his history and his training. And I don't know if that's what the state's intent was to do that this afternoon in anticipation of what he was going to testify to, which, as I understand it, is our videos, specifically 3 videos. Who I smoke, when I see you, and do it. And as I understand the court's ruling, as it relates specifically to the 6 incidents that are considered motive and historical gang information, that the court has allowed entry of that evidence, what I think the concern is that, A, these videos this afternoon, as well as the videos that are going to be played later on in the trial, mention many, many names, each of them, names of individuals that have previously been the victims of shooting or murders, whether it's as a result of Foolio's songs or Young and Ace, Spin a Benz, Whopping with the Choppa. And I don't believe that was the court's intention, is to allow Jacksonville gang officers to identify other victims of crimes that are historically related to gang violence, and whose names are within those videos. And I'm presuming the state is going to be asking the detectives, in this particular case today, Detective Neider, about who those people are and what happened to them. And I understand, and I know, Ms. Ismer, we've had some conversations about, I'm going to try to streamline it. I'm going to try to say, hey, look, who is this? Did they die? When? If I'm correct. And I still believe that, based on what I understood the court's order to be, that that's not what you intended, nor that's what you ordered. Now, I certainly could be wrong, but my fear is that the jury then being apprised of all of these other individuals that were killed as part of his testimony discussing historical gang warfare or historical gang violence would not be in the spirit of what I understood the court's ruling to be.
Okay, and so my understanding is, that, having seen these videos, that what makes them drill rap, as that term is understood, is that there is some reference that whoever is performing the rap, makes certain reference to people that have died, right? And so if the state's intending to not go any further than to have Detective Neider explain to the jury the significance in this drill rap of the rapper identifying these specific people and that it's ops, so to speak, then that could be relevant. So go ahead, Ms. Ismer.
That is the exact purpose of the state's introducing the video and the inquiry of the detective. I can assure the court that the nicknames, for example, or the references to certain incidents or locations are things that only Detective Neider or detectives could describe. And in this case, we have consolidated that to Detective Neider to describe these 3 videos and only certain lines from those videos. So the inquiry is, of course, limited to what does that reference mean? Because surely the jury on their own would never be able to understand what's happening or the relevance of that to this case or the investigation.
Okay, and then because we have the 6 prior incidents that I've already ruled would be admissible. During these videos, are there other incidents or other victims that are not part of the 6 previous incidents that I've said are admissible?
There are other victims mentioned in the music videos that we would be inquiring with the detectives about. Those persons that are mentioned are relevant. So they're relevant both to the gang history, but also to later evidence in the case. My intention was to not go into depth with the relevance of that until the gang detectives were testifying about how that would have related to the specific defendants and their gang enhancement.
And can you identify specifically what the references are per video?
I can identify what the references are. I wouldn't be able to do it off the top of my head, meaning there are so many persons listed and we're only going to ask about certain individuals, but I'd be happy to identify those.
Well, just so the record's clear, what we're talking about here.
So for example, there is reference to in Mr. Charles Jones' video, When I See You, Suge, and Suge being shot off of his bicycle. When the detectives are present and testifying about the gang enhancements in this case, they will be discussing Suge, which is Avery McKnight, an individual that is tattooed on Davion Murphy's body, in image, by name, and by alias. And so, yes, we will circle back, I guess, to those issues or those mentions from the videos, specifically as to the defendants during the gang enhancement portion. For today only, though, we will be asking who is Suge and what does it mean to say shot Suge off of his bike. And the detective would, I presume, respond, this is an individual that was killed in Jacksonville as a part of the war.
Okay?
Judge, I do have all of the people that are listed, and there's a dozen in one. There are 6 or 7 or 8. I can name them all in each video that the state intends to introduce, plus the ones that will be introduced later that have the same potential issues. But I think it exceeds what I understood the court's ruling to be by a large margin.
Right.
And what's going to happen is that there's no way that this jury can't have a takeaway much more expansive
Right.
than what I believe the court's ruling is.
So, State, can't you basically have the detective convey what's going on without going into identifying each and every person that's referenced? Like, can't you have them?
I have no intent to have them identify each person by reference at all.
Okay, so then,
There are, in all of the videos, dozens and dozens and dozens of references. And so those which would be essentially relevant to our case, without discussing the defendants at this particular phase for historical gang evidence, to discuss the motive at this point, without talking about enhancement evidence, because I'm trying to create a clear delineation between those two things for this trial.
right,
I am asking them, what does that mean, essentially, in these videos? Or why is that item of importance for purposes of the motive evidence in the historical gang, right? That is separate and apart, which is one motion that we've had, historical gang evidence in one category for the motive, from additional items of evidence, which are gang enhancement items that the detectives would individually testify to at a different time from today.
Sure, no, I understand that, but I'm saying that for this purpose, just to give context to the motive for this homicide, the state's alleged motive, as the detective's talking about the video, does he have to explain each and every reference, or can you curtail that just to, as an example, say as an example, this is a drill rap, it's an ops rap, and in this video, the rapper, for example, he mentions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. And I plan to do that. I plan to say, are these individuals, even though there's a couple named, I can loop that together by saying a part of the case, instead of having them describe, died on this date. That is not my intention whatsoever.
Okay, so can you, is there any way with the videos to identify ahead of time who you're gonna actually ask about in the video?
Yes, I could. I have a PowerPoint with the videos and the lyrics as we had presented to the court previously. I'd be happy to discuss that with the defense if the court would allow us time to do that very quickly.
Yeah, so what's gonna be the first video you're gonna play?
Who I smoke.
Who I Smoke, okay. And so,
Judge, I could probably tell you all those people, and she might be able to say yes, no, yes, yes, yes.
well, why don't you guys talk, okay? So I'm inclined, just so you know, I'm inclined to let the detective, as an example, okay, when he's explaining what these drill rap videos mean, I'm inclined to let him testify to a couple of examples of why he believes, as a gang expert, why these names are being mentioned, okay? But not to have a wholesale go through the whole, identify every single person and what happened to every single person, just as like a demonstrative example of the rapper and what it is, the message they're conveying, okay? So maybe you guys can agree on a couple that Detective Neider, because I am going to allow them a couple, okay? Just as an example,
Yes, Your Honor.
okay? So you guys get together right now. If you cannot agree, then I guess I'll pick.
Understood, Judge, and for the record, a couple's too many, so please
understand.
don't mind
Yes,
objection.
objection noted, okay?
Correct, Judge. That's why I was standing up there on behalf of Davion Murphy. We're going to object to it. The introduction of the drill rap videos initially, and any interpretation by anyone of what they allege they proclaim.
Sure.
So
Okay.
a
And-
continuing objection.
Yes, and same with Mr. Petrides and Mr. Wise, I assume, correct?
Correct, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
No particular objection to the optics, beyond whatever you indicated.
I hate all the, I hate all the
None
options.
of this is the video, so may I move on from this slide?
You may,
Can you,
always in my space.
all of them at one time, are these individuals deceased? Yes.
She said pick two.
Okay, and just so, and I'm sorry, just for the record, these are the 6 incidents that I have said are relevant for the gang history. And it would be contained in the state's motion in limine. That'd be the August 18, 2018 murder of Joe Rod Adams at Rains High School. The February 2019 murder of Adrian Bibby Gainer. The August 16, 2023 I don't know if he was murdered or
Homicide,
not.
yes, Your Honor, of Jaquan Pickens.
Yep, Jaquan Pickens, August 17, 2023, attempted murder of Jacoby Bells. October 7, 2023, Antonio Tilley, ATK member, was murdered. And then the previous attempted murder of Mr. Jones.
That's correct.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay? So if there's anything outside of those 6 that the state feels they want Detective Neider to just briefly explain the significance of the reference to, okay, per video. So pick. everybody, let's bring in our jury.
All rise.
Okay, very good. All right, welcome back. And we're gonna have a seat. Just so you all know, because we do not have court tomorrow, we're gonna work a little bit later, okay? Not too terribly much, but a little bit to keep making progress, all right? State car, next witness.
The state would call Detective Richard Neider.
Very good. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Detective. Would you please state your full name for the jury?
That's Detective Richard Neider,
What agency are you employed with?
Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office?
It'll be 10 years this fall.
Do you have any particularized unit that you work in?
I do. I'm in the gang investigations unit.
And how long have you been in the gang investigations unit?
4 years this fall.
What types of duties and responsibilities do you have as a part of that unit?
That unit every day, we monitor gangs, members in the gangs themselves. We document them and their activities. We assist other units with intelligence in the gangs. We purge them if they no longer meet state statutes. And we also do a thing we call customized notifications, where we go out to their houses and offer them resources and stuff like that to get them help in a better lifestyle.
Is the outreach specifically something that your agency has the gang units do, so a community outreach of some kind?
Yes, ma'am. We do that. We try to do it once a week. Sometimes we get busy, but we go out with pastors and other leaders of the community and make notifications at their doorsteps.
In doing that, do you also develop relationships with some of the individuals that you're trying to help or their families?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me about what you do or what you're required to do as a member of the gang unit to be proficient in the Jacksonville gang scene.
We go through cell phones, social medias. We monitor social medias along those lines.
And is the monitoring of social media something that's just become more popular in the last few years?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it that you're looking for when you're monitoring social media?
There's a bunch of different things. You look for like the songs that are being posted, what they're posting, who they're posting with, where they're at, their clothing, maybe the vehicles that they're around, and if they're like with other gang members, are they throwing up signs? What do the signs mean? What do the lyrics mean behind the songs that they're posting?
Are you in the gang unit with other gang detectives?
Yes, ma'am. There's 12 of us.
Are you specifically assigned to investigate one gang in particular?
Yes, ma'am.
And what gang is that?
ATK.
Do you have specific knowledge based on your training and experience in Jacksonville of what ATK actually stands for?
I've never been told exactly what it stands for. It would be.
What are some of the training that you and or the other detectives in the unit receive to become actual gang detectives?
We go through Florida Gang Investigations Association conference. We've taken classes put on by federal agencies. We've also taken classes that are put on throughout the entire country. at those conferences, we learn what other agencies and police departments are doing that might help better our investigations.
Does the FGIA conference that you mentioned, does it specifically teach courses on Jacksonville gangs?
No, it teaches like a general aspect of what they see across the state of Florida. It's not necessarily just related to Jacksonville, but each area of the state of Florida may investigate stuff differently, so it's more of like a networking conference where you learn different things, what other people are doing.
So you mentioned cell phones. If Miami-Dade County said cell phones are being utilized to commit crimes in this way, you share that information.
Yes, ma'am, we would.
Are there courses that are taught at those conferences by experts from across the country as far as traditional and hybrid gangs?
Yes.
And during the course of taking those courses, do you attend each of the courses that are presented?
You attend the class that you would find interesting. Throughout the entire conference, there will be like 5 or 6 classes going at one time. And so you go to the ones that kind of relate to what you're doing as a gang unit or like your investigations.
So generally, if there is a course about what gangs are developing or what's happening nationwide, and there's a course about something Florida-specific, do you choose to attend the Florida courses?
Generally, it just depends on what the nationwide would be offering. If it's offering something that I don't know, I would go to learn that instead of something I already know.
And is there specifically a statute in Florida that you and the other members of your unit are required to follow in documenting, undocumenting, and investigating gang cases?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that Florida statute?
874.
Does the statute provide for the legal definition for a criminal gang member in the state of Florida?
It does.
And is that the statute that you follow when you mentioned you document or purge different gang members?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you go about reviewing that statute and then comparing it to the evidence or information that you've collected?
So the statute is 3 or more people that are committing one of their primary activities is criminal or delinquent acts. They colors, hand signs, clothing, stuff along that line that shows they're a part of the same group. We follow that, but the main key would be the criminal and delinquent acts. They'd be committing crimes to be a gang.
So there are requirements in order to form a gang itself,
Yes, ma'am.
and that includes the criminal association of 3 or more members.
Yes, ma'am.
And those 3 or more members are engaged in the criminal activity of some kind,
Yes, ma'am.
or in some way.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it strictly that the goal or purpose of the gang is criminal activity?
No, it's just one of its primary activities.
But is that what's required no matter what? Whether you have hand signs, whether you have other activities that identify you as a group, no matter what, 3 or more associated persons and criminal activity.
Yes, ma'am. That's the key component is the criminal activity.
If you have one of the documented gang member criteria underneath that, so the hand signs, the admitting that you're a gang member, those types of things, are you a gang member or an associate?
You're an associate. In order to be a member, you have to meet 2 or more of the criteria that's outlined in the statute.
So if myself and Mr. Harmon and Ms. Doherty are 3 individuals and we all wear blue suits every week on Wednesdays and we have a hand sign that we throw, are we going to be eligible to meet that statute if we are not engaged in criminal activity, at least in part?
No, ma'am.
You must still also be engaged in the criminal activity.
Yes, ma'am.
When you are working gang-related cases or in your duty or capacity as a gang detective in Jacksonville, how much of your work week is actually devoted to the investigation of gang-related crimes?
The entire work week.
And in addition to the gang conferences, have you also attended something called HIDA?
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the federal agencies that we attend classes for.
Is your investigation or criminal investigation of gangs strictly related to murder investigations?
No, ma'am.
What are the other types of criminal investigations that you are looped in for?
We've done everything as from economic crimes to drugs to firearms charges.
And in your role working on your assigned group, ATK, are you also at least educating yourself on the other gangs in Jacksonville?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a requirement to work in the gang unit?
Yes, ma'am. You would need to have knowledge, general knowledge of the other gangs.
When you are working on assignment to determine whose cases will be assigned to each member of the gang unit, how are they assigned?
If it's after hours, it's whoever's on call. You would respond to the scenes. And then you'd gather the information, and the next day we'd have a meeting, and we would pass it off to the person that's assigned to the gang.
What is the information that you gather to identify the appropriate gang detective to assign?
More than likely, we'll go off the victim.
Meaning whoever the victim is aligned with or identified as belonging
Yes,
to?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you had responded to the death of an ATK member, you would typically be assigned that case.
Yes, ma'am.
There are obviously some circumstances in which that could differ, I presume.
Yes,
Okay. But relatively, that's how you try to assign cases in Jacksonville.
correct.
In working these gangs in Jacksonville, are there different types of gangs themselves that you have seen?
Yes, ma'am. We have traditional and street hybrid gangs.
What is a traditional gang?
A traditional gang is going to be like your Bloods and Crips, those style gangs that have a hierarchy. They have rules and regulations that they abide by.
When you say hierarchy, what do you mean by that?
Like there's somebody, you answer to somebody, there's like a boss, and then there's people that trickle all the way down.
That's like what we would see with, I guess, maybe Latin Kings or the Mafia. There's someone who's the head of the pyramid, really.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And there are traditional gangs in Jacksonville,
Yes, there is.
but are there the other type that you mentioned, hybrid gangs?
Street hybrid, yes, ma'am, there is.
What is a street hybrid gang?
A street hybrid gang is generally created in the neighborhood. There's no hierarchy, there's no rules, regulations, it's just a neighborhood that meets the state statute 874.
Meaning the individuals who are representing that neighborhood also meet the statutory criteria for a gang member?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so you are saying from a neighborhood, are there certain neighborhoods that are identified in Jacksonville as belonging to certain gangs or groups?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe for me one example of that?
The easy example would be like 1200. Their area of town is 1200 East First Street.
Is 1200 commonly referred to as Out East 1200 or 1200 Out East?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's literally geographically where a lot of the members reside?
I wouldn't, maybe not reside, but that's their hangout. That's where they're more than likely to be found. They could reside elsewhere in Duval County.
Over the course of the last several years, have you also seen a trend where individuals will belong to Out East 1200 that have never lived Out East?
Yeah, they could. You don't have to live out there to be a part of that gang.
What about 6 Block? Is that a location in Jacksonville?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that refer to a specific neighborhood or area?
It's the area, it's the north side of Jacksonville, the area near 45th and Moncrief.
And typically, near 45th and Moncrief, are you seeing 6 Block members that were essentially born and raised there?
It would be the same for them. Like, you don't have to be born and raised in the area to be a part of that gang. But that's just the general spot that they used to or like to hang out.
Well, let's talk about geographic locations. If you are a member of 1200, are there certain areas that you have seen acts of violence occur in the 6 Block geographic locations, or locations that only 6 Block should be?
Yes, if you, it would raise concern if you found a 1200 Out East member or associate in the north side.
And
6
vice
Block
versa.
area, Jacksonville, yes, ma'am. That would raise concerns for us.
So certain areas that if you are a member of 6 Block, you don't go, that are other members' territories.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like you can't go, but it just raises concerns, and acts of violence would likely occur.
Okay. Now, when you investigated or became involved in this investigation, were there 3 specific gangs relevant to this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were those 3 gangs?
6 Block, ATK, and 1200 Out East.
Are you familiar with all 3, 6 Block, ATK, and 1200 Out East?
Yes, ma'am, I would say to a certain extent.
Which one are you most familiar with?
ATK.
Is that because that's the gang that you're assigned to?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you, in assisting the other gang detectives, provide information about ATK members when they have an investigation of their own about 1200 or 6 Block?
ATK and 1200 we would help out a lot, just due to our gangs associating with each other, and they have like an alliance.
When you say alliance, can you describe for us what that means?
Yeah, they make music together, they hang out together, they're often seen together, maybe like at a party or nightclubs or stuff like that, but the main thing that they would do is make music together.
So just because you are not from the same gang doesn't mean that you don't associate with other gang members.
Correct.
It's not like every gang is completely isolated to themselves.
No, you would have your associates and people that you get along with.
So ATK and 1200 are allied together.
Yes, ma'am.
Do those two gangs get along?
Yes.
Relatively. I mean, obviously there are sometimes outliers in anything, but those gangs you've seen music videos, for example, where they're together.
Yes, ma'am.
And were they always known, for example, 1200, always known commonly as 1200 in your entire career?
I think they have other names that they call themselves by, but the gang itself is 1200 out east. That would probably be a better question for the 1200 detective.
Let's talk about ATK then. Are there subsets or earlier names that members of ATK went by?
Yes, early on they went by Youngin Gang. They've also, you'll hear them say NHG too.
What does NHG stand for?
No Hospital Gang.
And when you are looking at ATK itself, do you see members that you had previously identified as NHG photographed, making music videos with, or even claiming ATK?
Yes, ma'am.
How does that happen? So how does one group that's identifying as one thing develop into something else?
They just call themselves different names. The gang is ATK. That's the one that meets the state statute. And then generally they'll spin off of it. They don't quite meet the state statute, so they don't become a gang. They're just a group.
When you are documenting an ATK member, for example, do you document if they represent or present NHG but are photographed and making music with or are committing crimes with ATK members, that individual as an ATK gang member with some kind of subset or affiliation to NHG?
NHG is just a group, but the people who are part of NHG are documented ATK members.
Okay, that's what I'm asking, so I'm sorry if that was a confusing question. Did, over the years, you see a separation between 6 Block and an earlier gang, or the members of 6 Block going by something called PCE?
I have, but the extent of my knowledge on that isn't the greatest because I don't investigate them every day, so that would probably be a better question for the 6 Block detective.
And who is that gang detective?
His name's Detective Trey McCullough.
What about 1200? Any subsets of that, like 187, would that be better asked of that gang detective?
Yes, ma'am.
And who is that?
Detective Craig Griffin.
Were each of those detectives, to your knowledge, also involved in this particular case and investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
When you had an opportunity to become involved in this investigation, did you specifically document several music videos of relevance to provide to the lead detectives?
Yes, ma'am.
And in documenting those music videos, did you document the members of the groups that were associated with those videos as gang members?
I believe that some of them are gang members or associates.
Would they have been documented by Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, for example, Young and Ace?
Yes, ma'am. He's documented ATK.
And did you provide a music video by Young and Ace named Who I Smoke?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen that music video?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had an opportunity to review the lyrics included in that music video?
Yes, ma'am.
Same thing with a 6 Block music video. Although you're not assigned, are you very familiar with a 6 Block video called When I See You?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that a video created by Foolio?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Foolio a documented gang member of any gang in Jacksonville?
6 Block.
And lastly, did you have an opportunity to review the lyrics of a third video called Do It?
Yes, ma'am, by Young and Ace.
Also, same Young and Ace that is an ATK member.
Yes.
And is it a part of your investigation to learn the legal names of these individuals despite these monikers of Foolio or Young and Ace?
Yes.
What is the legal name of Young and Ace?
Kenyatta Bullard.
And have you been familiar with him since you have been working in the gang unit?
Yes.
Had you had an opportunity even prior to your time in the gang unit to patrol the neighborhoods in which these crimes of violence would occur?
I have.
And are you familiar with several of those incidents of violence based on your time in patrol and in your time in the gang unit?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain for the jury specifically what a drill rap is?
Drill rap is a style of music that was created in Chicago. It's often a disses towards opposing groups or acts of violence that have happened. It's real-life events, more than likely. It's not saying that they committed those events, but they're profiting off of it by speaking about it.
What do you mean profiting off of it?
So whenever you post a song on any social media platform, you get paid for that. So if you get a certain amount of views, you receive money from that social media platform. So if you post a music video to YouTube and you get 1 million views, you may get a set amount of money per those views.
And in the music videos that we have at least discussed today, Who I Smoke, When I See You, and Do It, those each have dozens of millions of views.
Yes, ma'am.
All of the members, for example, we'll go with ATK since that's the gang that you're assigned to, not all of the members of ATK are prominent rappers, are they?
Correct.
Is there a prominent rapper that is leading ATK?
Young and Ace.
And is he probably the most recognizable, specifically if we go by YouTube views?
I would say yes.
What about for 6 Block? Is that still Foolio or Charles Jones?
More than likely it is.
Are there other members of ATK that are rappers?
Yes.
To the level or extent that Young and Ace is?
Not quite that level.
But not everyone is a rapper.
No.
Do you, in reviewing these videos, have an opportunity to ascertain how other members of the gang actually make money or profit if there are only certain members that are successful rappers?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? It was.
Yes, I don't know what's happening. There's some kind of high-pitched something behind me, so I apologize.
I can hear it, but I don't know what it is. Now it's stopped. Okay?
Are you able to interpret the lyrics of those videos and ascertain how other members of ATK, for example, may be making money but are not rappers in those videos?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that based on the lyrics or the admissions that are given in those videos as well?
Yes, ma'am.
It is not just that drill videos are made by ATK, is that correct?
Correct.
You have seen and essentially interpreted music videos from 6 Block?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have seen and interpreted videos which include ATK and 1200?
Yes, ma'am.
So while those are two separate and distinct identified gangs with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, it is not unusual that you have seen both of those two allied together.
ATK and 1200, you're asking?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it that you have learned causes them to be allies to each other?
They have a common enemy.
And who is their common enemy?
6 Block.
Are ATK members and 1200 members vocal about 6 Block being their common enemy?
Yes.
And have you learned over the course of your time in the gang unit a specific member that receives that disdain from 1200 and ATK? A specific member of 6 Block, yes. Do you also have an opportunity to interview current and former gang members to get deeper understandings of the inner workings of gangs in Jacksonville?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you also familiar with the cases or the outcomes of certain cases that occur in Jacksonville when they are gang-related, meaning if one gang member pleads guilty to the injury, homicide, crime against another gang?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work with the other detectives as a part of your unit to track and follow and understand the war between ATK and 1200 versus 6 Block over the course of the last several years?
Yes, ma'am.
I will tender the witness, Your Honor, if necessary.
Okay, any questions at this point as to qualifications or experience?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Detective.
How are you?
Good. So you've been in the gang unit since 2022,
Yes, sir.
and during the course of your assignment in the gang unit, I think you told us that you have gone to HIDA conferences, correct?
Yes, sir.
At least a couple of them, correct?
Yes, sir. Those would be like classes, like day-long, two-day-long classes.
Yeah, 2-day-long classes, and this is the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Association, correct?
Yes, sir.
So they're general classes. You may get a gang class, you may get a drug class, you may get a trafficking class, you may get a social media class, you may get an importation class, you may get multiple different types of things in general context, correct?
Yes, sir. They generally put the class title out, and then you sign up to attend that specific class. So I would only attend the gang-related classes for that.
And this occurs over a 3-day period, correct?
They could be up to 3 days, but generally they're 8 to 10-hour classes.
Correct, because there's lots of things going on. It's 3 days,
Yes,
but it
sir.
has a whole bunch of things going on at the same time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in addition to those two conferences, you also attended the Beginners and Intermediate Florida Gang Association Conference, correct?
Yes, sir.
Additionally, I think you've indicated to us that you also have taken some social media classes or technology classes that generally talk about cell towers and mapping and social media and getting warrants, things of that nature, giving you a general understanding about how to go about doing those things.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to presume that you haven't trained anyone else or been a part of any type of panel as it relates to gangs and gang activity?
No, sir.
And I'm guessing that you haven't authored any kind of paper on that particular subject, gang intelligence or gangs in general, gang affiliation, correct?
No, sir.
And essentially, what training you have, other than what you just told us, is pretty much on the street, on the job training, discussing things from prior gang investigators, their files, looking over files yourself. I just told you a lot of things.
Yes, sir.
But in general, those types of activities is what and how you gain what experience you have.
Yes, sir. On the job training.
And to the extent of your testimony, you have testified in the past based on cases that you have handled, that you were a detective for that particular case, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you're not a detective handling this investigation and this murder, correct?
Correct.
So would it be fair to say that this is the first time that you have testified in this capacity?
No, sir. I've testified in this capacity before.
And that would be, as I understand it, at a prior sentencing?
As sentencing or just as a witness in general, though I'm not the one that's actually investigating a case.
But they would be one of your Jacksonville investigations, correct?
I think I'm getting your question confused.
Yeah. So you are here in Tampa testifying about a case that occurred in Tampa,
Yes,
right?
sir.
That you did not investigate, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've been asked to come and testify because you know some of the parties that are involved because they come from Jacksonville, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as it relates to the testimony you are giving here, compared to the testimony you've given in Jacksonville, that would be more related to somebody gets killed or somebody is injured and there is some suspicion that there's gang activity. You would come in and you would do an investigation into that particular incident, correct?
I would work alongside, it depends on the level of the crime. If it was a homicide, I'd work alongside our homicide team. Our sheriff's office is very big, so we have different units that investigate stuff. The gang unit alone, we do investigate crimes, but this type of crime would be investigated by our homicide unit, and we would provide assistance to them.
Yeah, they would call you and say, hey, look, we think there might be some gang involvement, or you may call them and say, we think there might be some gang involvement.
Yes, sir.
And then you would kind of parallel your investigations.
Yes, sir. We'd provide more of intelligence than any type of investigative.
And then what you would do subsequent to that, when we're talking about your testimony, then you would testify about what you learned as it relates to that particular case. is what would entail your testimony in court for that case.
I'm still not understanding that question.
So when you say you've testified in the past,
Yes, sir.
you've done so as it relates to the incident, the murder, the shooting that occurred in Jacksonville that you were brought into in order to do a parallel investigation as to what occurred.
Yes, sir.
I know you said that you've utilized 874 in documenting gang members, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how many criteria there are exactly?
I believe right now there's 11, and the statute is being updated. I don't think that is hit yet. but
And we know
adding
that's
more.
going to, I'm sorry, cut you off.
It's going to be adding more criterias.
Don't know when that's going to happen just yet, correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I am correct about that?
I believe, yes, sir. I've learned about it, but I do not believe it's in effect.
Detective, you've never documented a gang member in Jacksonville based on the criteria of them making an admission to you, correct?
I have not.
And you have in the past used a criteria where you utilize a documented reliable informant, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it's the standard with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Department, as it is a lot of other agencies, that when you have an informant, a confidential informant, and you need that person to be deemed reliable, you open up a file, you bring somebody in, you have a process that you go through with the agency in order to get that confidential informant documented, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you would include paperwork, and you would have a file. Sometimes other detectives might share that informant, depending on what their needs might be, correct?
Yes, sir.
And have you utilized in your documentation in Jacksonville gang members informants that are done and utilized and formulated that way? That's not what you do, is it?
The informant that I used was documented. We do have informants that they're called sources that are not documented, but they're not. I utilize the documented informant.
So you're saying you do both?
Correct.
And in the day-to-day activities or the day-to-day investigation, strike that. Judge, nothing more at this time.
Okay, Mr. Sinardi, any questions only as to Detective Neider's training and experience at this time?
Yes, Your Honor,
Okay?
very quickly. Good afternoon, Detective.
How are you?
Fine, sir. Detective, we took your deposition back in September of 25 in relation to these cases here. You recall that?
Yes, sir.
And since that time until today's date, have you ever been qualified by any court for a trial or hearing as a gang expert?
Objection, Your Honor, improper argument.
Sustain the objection.
No further question.
Okay, Mr. Wise? Mr. Petrides? Petrides?
Good afternoon, Detective.
How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Just briefly, you said that your training, from my understanding, it's all from law enforcement sources? Law enforcement agencies? across the
Yes,
country?
sir. Sorry.
Sorry, bad question. And a lot of times you go to the same training conference every year, and they just update little by little?
Yes, sir. They update, and then the beginning and intermediate are different levels of classes you can take.
And you learn most of how to document through on-the-job training?
The document is just straight from the statute, and then reading it and interpreting it, and then the evidence that corroborates the statute.
None of the national gang conferences teach you about the Florida gang stuff, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
They just teach you the general stuff in the national gangs.
Yes, sir.
When you're talking to gang members, you generally talking to them when they've been arrested?
It just depends. I've talked to them when they've been arrested. I've talked to them just in public if we see them, or we're out doing proactive police work and they're on a traffic stop and they get let free that night. Any chance I get, I talk to them.
Would you say it's fair that for the most part they're not giving you specific details or a lot of information?
Yeah, it just depends what kind of situation they got themselves into.
Okay. But generally they're not telling the full truth of everything that's going on to law enforcement?
Not at the beginning.
And you're getting a lot of stuff, you said, from social media?
Yes, sir. Social media and like phone downloads.
And this requires the understanding of some coded words and some language that they're using?
They'll talk. They might like change up a couple words, but they don't really talk in like very like code like you would think.
And you get those from just watching more and more videos, correct?
What like
The,
the videos?
the coded words that they do use, you understand those by just watching more and more videos? That's basically how you
Yeah,
do it?
you kind of just like I generally just figure out what they're talking about and then kind of piece it together what they're trying to say.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you may proceed.
Detective, if there is a question either interagency or nationwide, really a question about ATK, are you the focus of, or the sole person at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office that those inquiries are directed to?
Yes, ma'am.
We spoke a little bit about having reviewed music videos, specifically related to this case. At this time, the state would seek to admit the self-authenticating business record, State's Exhibit 111 for the YouTube videos, Your Honor.
Okay, is that just the certification?
Yes, it's the
not the actual-
certification and the return, essentially. It has the data and the dates for the YouTube videos.
Okay, any objection? As
Previous
just-
objections, Your Honor.
Okay, okay. Okay, same ruling from the court, it's admitted.
Sir, this particular case, speaking first about the 3 YouTube videos that were identified, were they documented as being in chronological order from Who I Smoke being first?
Yes.
Okay. And, Your Honor, at this time, the state would seek to admit and publish States 112A and B, 113A and B, and 130A and B.
Okay, and you all renew all previously made objections, correct?
Yes, Judge.
Defense? Okay, with all previous objections being renewed, same ruling from the court, they'll be admitted.
Can you see the screen before you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you State's Exhibit 112. Do you recognize this still image?
Yes, ma'am. That's the opening credits of the music video "Who I Smoke."
This is probably one of the most successful videos from out of ATK and 1200, a joint venture between the two.
Yes.
Are you able to identify the rappers that are featured in this music video?
Yes.
And who are those rappers?
The dude on the bottom left holding the golf club is that's going to be Wappa with the Choppa. His name's Reginald Williams. The guy to the right of him sitting down behind the steering wheel is Spinabins. His government name's Noah Williams. The guy standing up with the cigar is Malquise Worthen. And the guy in the back in the neon yellow shirt is Young and Ace, whose government name is Kenyatta Bullard.
In the credits page, or this title page here, on top of the Who I Smoke title are the individuals who actually rap in this music video also named.
Yes.
And are 3 of the individuals that you've just named, Spinabins, Wappa with the Choppa, and Young and Ace, rapping in this video?
Yes.
Are Spinabins and Wappa with the Choppa affiliated to a gang?
They're 1,200.
And is Young and Ace the individual that we previously spoke about, Mr. Bullard, the most prominent person in ATK?
Yes.
The publication from the records on this case indicates March 28th of 2021. Do you recall having viewed this video when it first came out?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to see these opening credit images that are depicted on the screen before you?
Yes.
Is this symbol in the top left, ATK, the symbol that you frequently see as a part of your investigations, which represents or is the moniker for this ATK group?
Yes.
What about the moniker to the right there, A Team Records?
That would be affiliated to 1200.
And what about on the bottom, Cuckoo Gang?
Also affiliated to 1200.
At this point in your career, meaning when you're testifying here today, is it unusual at all for you to see a music video containing ATK and 1200 representatives?
No, it's not unique.
During the course of the videos, are there graphics that are often placed across the screen, specifically in this Who I Smoke video?
Yes.
And over the course of your reviewing these music videos, are there significance in the names that are utilized by the rappers in these videos?
Yes.
When you discussed drill rap videos, you talked to us about the content of those videos. What is typically the content or the purpose of a drill rap video?
To be disrespectful towards the opposing group.
Oftentimes when you are reviewing these music videos, is the disrespect directed towards fallen members or ops that have died?
Generally, sometimes they'll speak about the ones who got shot and lived.
Who got shot and lived, is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to publish now, it states 112A.
Can you turn it down just a touch? Sorry, just a touch. Thank you.
As we watch the videos themselves, we see several individuals that are at least named in the video. So in looking at the last line of this current slide, no hospital gang boy, that line, do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Could you describe for the jury what no hospital gang means?
That's the name of their group.
Whose group?
It would be like a spin-off of ATK.
And is that NHG, like what we were discussing earlier in your testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
More specifically, in this song, there is a line referring to Houston. Is that the actual city or an individual?
That's the city.
What is it that you know about Houston that was relevant in your review of this particular video?
So he says he was lurking on his page, which means he was watching his page, his social media page. He called him lacking in Houston, let off shots. He got shot and went live. They're speaking about the attempted murder on Charles Jones that happened in Houston. He went live from a hospital bed, basically trolling them, saying they didn't get the job done.
Okay, so there was an attempted murder on Mr. Jones. Was he injured?
I believe he was.
And he went to the hospital and then went live. Is that like on social media?
On his Instagram.
And that's a video of some kind on Instagram.
Yes.
Did you also have an opportunity to observe specific hand signs that were utilized in the video by Wappa with the Choppa and Spinna Benz depicted on the images in front of you?
Yes.
Is this a common hand sign that you see depicted by members of a specific Jacksonville gang?
I believe that is 1200's hand sign, but like referred to earlier, Detective Griffin would probably be the know-all for that criminal gang and their hand signs and what they do.
So in your review of a music video like this, you would document what we're seeing on the screen and then speak to specifically Detective Griffin to confirm the meaning behind the hand sign?
Yes, ma'am. I would show him the picture, send him a picture, and confirm that is them doing the hand sign. That would be part of the criteria to document them as gang members.
I want to ask you specifically about two homicides which occurred in 2018 and 2019. Are you familiar with the homicide of Joe Rod Adams, a.k.a. Spazz, and Adrian Gainer, a.k.a. Bibby?
Yes, ma'am.
To what group is Spazz or Joe Rod Adams affiliated or was affiliated?
Out East 1200.
And was Mr. Adams ultimately killed?
He was.
What was the circumstance of that homicide?
It was at Raines High School football game. He was shot and killed at the game. Robert Howard, who goes by Kenny Caps, who is a 6 Block member, was charged with and arrested for manslaughter and was sentenced to 5 years in that case.
So Kenny Caps or Robert Howard, the individual who was also present on the night of Charles Jones's homicide,
Yes, he was.
arrested and convicted of that homicide
Yes.
of Joe Adams.
Yes.
Had that sentence been concluded and he ultimately been released at the time of Charles Jones's murder in June of 2024?
Yes.
Was there an individual present for during the homicide of Spazz or Joe Rod Adams named Adrian Gainer, a person present with or aligned with Robert Howard?
Yes.
What group is Adrian Gainer or was Adrian Gainer a part of?
6 Block.
Mr. Howard, in the homicide of Joe Rod Adams, he was arrested approximately how long after the homicide occurred?
I'm not exactly sure of how long it took to arrest him. I don't think it was very long, but I don't know the exact time.
Okay. But ultimately afterward, was there also a homicide of Mr. Gainer?
Yes.
At the time Mr. Gainer was killed, Mr. Howard would have already been in custody though, correct?
Correct.
And we're talking about specific instances or acts, but these are not the only investigations or only cases that you investigated as a member of the gang unit between the dates that we're talking about in these offenses, correct?
Correct.
Did you also have an opportunity to view or review a video called When I See You that was posted on April 23rd of 2021, so about a month after Young and Ace's video, Who I Smoke?
Yes, I have.
And is that what we're seeing a title page shot of here in State's Exhibit 113?
Yes, we are.
Are you able to identify the individual depicted on the cover of this page?
In the all black with the black shoes and red bottom. I think it's his underwear. That's Charles Jones.
And you've become familiar with him over the course of your work in Jacksonville.
Yes.
In reviewing that video, were you able to observe hand symbols that were used by Charles Jones as well?
Yes.
Is it common in these music videos for the rappers to diss the other gangs by using the other gangs' hand signs?
Yes. Whenever they use another group's hand sign, they'll face it down. That's where the disrespect comes in, is when you put it down.
And When I See You specifically, did Mr. Jones also utilize his right hand to make another depiction towards the upside down 1200 sign?
Yeah, he's making like a finger gun, like he's shooting 1200.
Is this common or uncommon to see in these drill rap videos?
It's pretty common.
And is this understood to be a diss, just based on your training and experience?
Yes.
Lastly, during the course of the When I See You video, did you document Mr. Jones making reference to a shug and an incident on a bike?
Yes, in this music video, yes.
Had you had an opportunity to review the entirety of the lyrics for this music video?
Yes.
And at the conclusion of the music video, does someone depicted in that video also pour what appears to be alcohol on top of the poster that was utilized as a demonstrative in the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, it has. It's even said in interviews that it is.
Representative of a dead gang member?
Yes.
And utilized to depict or represent ATK.
Correct.
After these videos are posted, do you continue investigating an uptick of offenses back and forth between 1200 and ATK and members of 6 Block?
Yes.
Specifically, as it relates to August 16th and 17th of 2023, was there a shooting offense that occurred in Jacksonville which involved a victim by the name of Jaquan Pickens?
Yes, ma'am.
And did Mr. Pickens go by the name Jake Jitt?
Yes.
Can you tell me about the circumstances of that murder?
It was early in the afternoon on I-95. Interstate runs through Jacksonville. Mr. Pickens was northbound, coming over one of the rivers. A car pulled up beside him, an unknown make, model, and color. Shots came from the car. struck Mr. Pickens. Mr. Pickens crashed into a broke-down semi, and that's where he was found deceased. His cause of death was gunfire.
And you responded to that offense location at the time of the homicide, or shortly thereafter, excuse me.
Yes, we would respond once the scene is secured.
And you specifically were also able to confirm the identity of the victim, Mr. Jaquan Pickens.
Yes.
When the next day then arrives, is a 1,200 member shot.
Yeah, Jacoby Bills, who goes by Lacoby.
Did Lacoby survive that shooting?
He did.
And where did that shooting occur?
It occurred at a park, I think it was a Pop Warner or some sort of youth football league practice.
But he survived that shooting itself.
Yes, he did.
When you say you document or monitor social media, do you do so after these offenses have occurred?
Yes.
And is it common, at least now, really in 2020 and beyond, I guess, to see the rival gangs take responsibility for offenses that have occurred?
Yeah, they will take responsibility, and they will also like troll. They might not say like they did it, but they'll like make fun of his death, call him names. They'll post like a song or something like that that insinuates violence.
Okay, so you said troll, so you don't log into Facebook and say, I killed John Smith today at noon.
No.
You post other images or phrases or something along those lines.
Yeah, just it's I don't know. I remember briefly about Jaquan Pickens. They were posting like chicken nuggets, like making fun of him, calling him chicken nugget.
Ultimately, a few months after, are there two offenses related to each other and involving ATK and 6 Block members?
Yes.
On October 6th of 2023, was there a homicide of an individual by the name of Antonio Tilley?
Yes,
Did you also respond to that scene?
I did.
And were you able to confirm the identity of the individual who died at that scene?
Yes.
What are the circumstances of that homicide?
Antonio Tilley was messaging a female on social media. They agreed to meet up. As Antonio Tilley pulls into the residence where they were alleged to meet up, he was ambushed by 2 individuals where he was shot, and the Uber driver was shot and killed.
So Mr. Tilley did not survive that shooting,
He did not.
and the shooting occurs in the late night hours of October 6th, is that right?
Yes.
Were there posts on social media from members of 6 Block that you observed taking essentially, quote, credit for that offense?
Yeah, they did the same as credit, trolling, making fun of his death.
And when you were on the scene of Mr. Tilley's homicide or investigating that, did you receive a call to respond to an attempted murder of an individual by the name of Charles Jones?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to respond to that scene and ultimately a hospital?
Yes,
And was Mr. Jones the surviving individual from that shooting?
he was.
What were the circumstances of that shooting several hours after Antonio Tilley was killed?
It was early in the morning. A car backs in on an abandoned residence near Mr. Jones, where he was at that night or that morning. As Mr. Jones backs his black Charger out of the driveway, he starts driving down the road. 2 individuals get out of this vehicle, back into the abandoned driveway, and open fire on Mr. Jones's Charger. Mr. Jones fled down the road a little bit and then exited his vehicle and ran to a neighboring residence for help.
And you responded to the offense location?
I did.
And then another detective with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office would have collected the evidence from that offense itself?
Yes, ma'am. Anytime, any violent crime or anything like that, our evidence technicians collect all the evidence.
And ultimately, does Antonio Tilley on the left side of our screen here become also a predominant figurehead or reference in ATK, just like 23?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's quite as big as 23 and reference like paying the respects, but he did become a name to a group of them.
Ultimately, on the date of the homicide, the murder of Charles Jones here in Tampa, Florida, was there a video released by Young and Ace?
I'm sorry, I missed the very beginning of that.
On June 23rd of 2024, was there a video released by Young and Ace called Do It?
Yes, ma'am.
And in reviewing the content of that video, I guess in the time that it had been uploaded to YouTube, was it apparent that it had been recorded on a date in advance of June 23rd of 2024?
Yeah, that's what I would, based on the scene of the music video, with it being nighttime and stuff like that. I don't see where he would have had time to record it at night and release it the same day.
Did you have an opportunity to look at the lyrics of the music video called Do It, posted by Young and Ace?
I did.
And was there anything as it relates to your investigation of ATK which led you to believe that before June 23rd of 2024, there was an ending of the war between 1200 and ATK versus 6 Block?
Yeah.
Was it still ongoing at that time?
Yeah, I would say like the ending of the war would be probably the death of Charles Jones.
Publishing states 130. Is this a still from the music video Do It, posted by Young and Ace on June 23rd of 2024?
It is.
And to your knowledge and based on your involvement in this case, was Charles Jones killed around 4:40 a.m. on June 23rd of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this Mr. Kenyatta Bullard sitting on the ground here in this slide?
Yes.
Publishing.
Yeah, when you like a thumbs down, I've seen it.
Bully Gang is associated with 6 Block, is that correct?
Yeah, there would be a subset.
And have you heard Bully Down utilized by ATK and or 1200 members?
Yes,
Did you analyze specifically the lyrics of this Do It video?
I did.
And in the line that's highlighted on top, gone to the park, take a picture. Do you see that line there?
I do.
Was there a significant incident that occurred in Jacksonville in which Charles Jones was in Melvin Park?
Yeah, they went. So Melvin Park is on our city's west side of Jacksonville. It's often where ATK claims their territory. Young and Ace was originally from Clay County, which is like a neighboring county to ours, but Melvin Park was the general area they hung out. Charles Jones went there and took a picture with the park sign. They wrote on it, and they did a music video inside of Melvin Park.
And lastly, did you have an opportunity to look towards the content of the lyrics in the Do It video?
Yes.
As we previously discussed, although the prominent rappers that actually make money on YouTube, for example, may have funding from views, do they also discuss the use of money to pay other members?
Yeah.
Can you describe for us what little do-its are?
It'd be like a crash dummy, or like somebody like you just give them some money and they'll do whatever you want them to do.
Okay, is crash dummy a term that you have heard used in your training and experience in law enforcement?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, ma'am. It's often terms that the neighborhoods use for like a younger individual who's trying to make a name for themselves, and they tend to just do crazy or like crazy acts to try to make the name.
And is that what you understood in this music video in the last sentence that we just read? I don't even call him by his name. I call them ins little do-its.
Yes.
Now, when you're talking about reading the lyrics in context, does the next line depict for you the context about location of the opposing targets?
Yes.
And how's that?
He said they called my phone. They say they got the low. I told him to do it. Low means like location. Like when you say you have the low or the drop on somebody, you know where they're at.
And I told them do it, and reading the rest of the contents in context, all this money, make an N-word, do it. Is that saying or providing anything for you in the context of this song?
Yeah, he's saying that all of the money he's got will make him do it. So he names the price, it makes him do it.
I will tender the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez? Do you need to keep any of these up, or are you going to utilize any of the exhibits?
Yeah, Judge, you can take them down.
Okay.
I'm going to unplug it. Does anyone need any of the exhibits? I'm going to unplug it so it's not on the monitor.
No. Detective, you have testified about translating the lyrics of a rap video, talked about it, testified to it, specifically today with regard to these three videos, When I See You, Who I Smoke, and Do It. In fact, these translations are a product of your own opinion as to what is being said, correct?
Yes, sir.
And by listening to it, you utilize what you believe are other investigations or other information you have received by talking to someone on the street or reading a social media post in order to formulate that opinion, correct?
Along with my training and experience and the experience of the other detectives in the unit. Yes, sir.
Well, the training is not going to assist you interpreting lyrics, correct? That's going to be based simply on what you've gathered on a day-to-day basis and what your eyes and your mind says you see and hear.
I mean, during the training, we network with other detectives who have also dissected lyrics, and if we don't know what the meaning is, they might throughout Florida.
Well, you're not telling me that you're relying on other detectives to interpret a lyric in your city, in your county, in a particular case, because we're not talking about coded language here. That's not what's happening. This is not coded language. This is an interpretation of a word, a series of words, or a sentence.
Objection, Your Honor, compound.
Okay, just, go ahead, finish your question.
You're not discussing or telling me that you're utilizing other detectives to assist you in interpreting these lyrics, are you?
I interpreted it myself, but if I don't know the meaning of one of the words that they use, I will ask for help. Yes, sir.
And you're talking about detectives from other jurisdictions. We're not talking about something that would be termed coded language. That's not what we're utilizing here, is it?
I wouldn't say it's coded language.
Okay, so you're asking someone else to interpret for you what you think something means.
No, sir.
So you think something means what you interpret it to be. If you're not sure about some part of it, you would ask another detective, potentially from another jurisdiction, to assist you.
I would ask them like the meaning of a word, not what the whole section, not the whole lyrics mean.
Okay? And when you do this, you utilize posts that you've seen on social media, correct?
Yes, sir.
You use Instagram.
Yes,
Whoever
sir.
might be talking on Instagram anywhere about anything, correct?
Yes, sir.
Reddit, which is another social media platform where people talk about what's going on out on the street, right?
Yes, sir.
And you talk to people on the street
Yes, sir.
who tell you what they think it means too, correct?
Yes, sir.
And these posts can come from anybody. You don't know who they're coming from, correct? The majority of the time.
Like, I'm sorry. What posts?
Well, when you're utilizing social media posts, it could be posts that are being made by lots of different people that may not even have a direct association with what's happening.
That's correct.
And then when you talk to people on the street, most of the time they're unnamed. You don't put them in a report, right?
I do not.
And you don't know what validity their information has for you. You're just going to take what they say, digest it, and decide whether or not you're going to utilize it in your interpretation, that information.
I would take what they say, and I would discover facts or evidence that goes with what they say before I use it.
And part of doing that would be to talk to other people to see whether they say what he says.
Correct.
And that would be a large part of your day-to-day intelligence that you gather.
That's some of the intelligence we gather.
And when you talk about these drill rap videos, in most cases, the majority, if not all of the songs, are disrespecting another person or another group, correct?
Yes, sir.
And all gangs, all rappers, because every rapper's not in a gang, correct?
That's correct.
And drill rap has to do with, at the highest level, disrespect for other people, correct?
Yes, sir.
That would be disrespect for someone who's died, putting it out there for everybody to see, correct?
Yes, sir.
In order to get clicks, in order to make money, in order to get notoriety, all of those things, you would agree with me?
I would agree that comes with drill rap. Yes, sir.
And essentially, they may even display happiness over what occurred, correct?
Yes, sir.
Pleasure over somebody dying in a group they don't like, correct?
Yes, sir.
And also allowing the rest of the world to know what happened, right?
Yes, sir.
And when we say the rest of the world, we're talking about millions and millions of views everywhere.
Yeah,
Correct?
lots of views.
The more you talk, the more angry you are, the more violent your lyrics, the more pointed they are with disrespect, the more notoriety you get, don't you?
Yeah.
And the more notoriety you get, the more money you make, correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, it's led people like Julio, Foolio, Charles Jones, Young and Ace to actually get record deals with legitimate record companies that distribute worldwide, correct?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Do you know whether or not Young and Ace was signed by Geffen Records?
He says he is, but I can't confirm or deny.
Okay. This disrespect that's shown in these rap videos, they talk about incidents in general, but they oftentimes talk about either groups or individuals. It could be both.
Yes, sir.
This also expands that particular rapper or performer's base of either customers or followers when they do these shocking things, correct?
As such as music videos and
Yes.
drill rap. Yes, sir.
And more often than not, when you're doing drill rap videos or you're doing these videos in general, you're doing it because somebody else is rapping about you.
Generally, yes, sir.
And so it's back and forth kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
And it's generating a lot of buzz and it's generating a lot of money for a lot of people. Correct?
Yes, sir. I would say so.
And would you agree with me that because a rapper, a drill rapper, any rapper, people that are in drill rap videos, people that post these things, if it's not a rap video, let's say it's just a post, they are not, A, admitting to a murder, correct?
Correct.
B, they're not saying things most often that are not already everywhere over the streets, correct?
Sometimes it's bounce. It's more likely that the lyrics that they rap is knowledge, like news knowledge, I would say. Maybe they've said it in like their news briefing, but there is sometimes where they rap about things that it was not released to the news.
They don't always happen, 30 minutes after.
Yes,
And
sir.
even if it's 30 minutes after, would you agree with me that in the age of social media, in the age of all of these social media platforms, incidents that occur in areas and neighborhoods that know and keep their eyes open spread it immediately like wildfire?
Yes, sir.
And so the majority of the time, what you're getting when you have these drill rap videos are things that are already very common knowledge.
Yeah, majority of the time.
So, discussing these things, disrespecting these people, does not necessarily mean that you were involved in any crime at all, correct?
I would agree with you.
Because we would probably think that when you were in the midst of doing investigations of the actual incidents that took place, having evidence that is provable against someone would in fact lead to that person's arrest, correct?
Yes, sir.
And even if you took what is being said as truth, as you have when you interpret these lyrics, you would think it would springboard you to get to a point in an investigation where an arrest is made, correct?
Not necessarily. I think the music is more along the lines of, like you said, the views and the money, but it also represents the group and the gang itself. It's just like it's a way of disrespect. That's how these guys use it to be disrespectful.
Well, then, being disrespectful is not a crime, correct?
Yes, sir. You're right.
And in fact, in opposite of being not a crime, it's also very financially lucrative.
Yes, sir.
And I guess what I was trying to get at is that you are doing day-to-day investigations in order to solve crimes. That's what this is all about, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if you're interpreting these lyrics, you are doing it purposefully in order to solve crimes, correct?
Yes, sir, to an extent.
And if any of this is true in these lyrics, in these rap videos, then you would have hoped that it would lead you to something else that might provide enough evidence to arrest someone, correct?
Yeah, but I'm not trying to understand your question of like the lyrics are true. I heard you said something along if the lyrics are true, it would lead to arrest. The lyrics are true. Those are real life events that have occurred. Just because a lyric doesn't allow us probable cause to arrest somebody.
Understood. And very rarely would it ever in anybody's world. And I didn't want to mislead you in saying that. But in this tool of investigation that you guys spend so much time doing,
Yes, sir.
okay, that would normally, you would hope, springboard to something that would allow a case to be solved or additional evidence to be uncovered or generated, correct? That's the goal.
Oh, yes, sir. It would hopefully allow us to generate an arrest or prevent the next violent crime by knowing where maybe the next incident will happen by the act of violence is.
And when you say that a rapper post or in a video took credit, I thought I remember hearing you say that when you were testifying on direct. What you're really meaning, and you use this word too, they're trolling the other side, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're using that synonymous with taking credit. They're trolling.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we don't want to mislead anybody to suggest that when you're taking credit, you're telling us that they're taking credit for a murder.
Yeah, that would obviously you're right. It would be more of like your group, like you're representing the group in the gang. You speak about it because there's a known feud and a known war going on. So you speak about it to gain the views and to gain the likes and to gain the profits off of it. It wouldn't necessarily be like you're the guy who pulled the trigger.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the incidents that you have discussed. You talked about the town center murder. That occurred in 2018, correct?
Yes, sir.
That was going to be probably 5 years or so before Mr. Jones's death, correct? June of 18 versus his death being June of 24, correct? I'm terrible at math.
Yeah.
Six.
Yes, I think
6
it's
years.
more than 5.
That murder is unsolved to this day, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the Joe Rod Adams Spazz murder, August 24th, 2018, again, about 6 years from Mr. Jones's murder. Were you aware that that investigation indicated that Mr. Howard, who did that shooting, shot Spazz Adams over a girl, a problem with a girl?
I'm not aware of the investigation, the details behind it. I'm just aware of that Robert Howard was sentenced to 5 years for manslaughter for that charge.
Correct.
Or for
Robert
the
Howard,
case.
right. Robert Howard admitted that he shot Spazz Adams. The question is why, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure the motive behind it.
Did you ever have any conversation with Detective Dishman, who did that investigation?
No, sir.
Okay, so you are utilizing that as what you think is a critical juncture in this alleged gang war, correct? Usually utilizing this particular incident.
Yes.
Okay, but in fact, you could be wrong about this incident actually having gang undertones as opposed to an argument between two people over a third person.
Yeah, but it's about the underlying factors of it. The one was 1200 and one was 6 block, and the war goes way before that date and time.
Was Bibby Gainer a documented member?
I'm not sure if he was a member or an associate. That would probably be a better question for Detective McCullough, but he was associated to 6 block.
And that was because he was very close with Foolio, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in order to know whether or not he was a documented gang member, we would need to ask Detective McCullough?
Yes, sir. He's the 6 block detective. I don't keep up with the members and the associate statuses of those guys.
Even on this particular one that you know is so vitally, important to this timeline?
Yep. How much longer do you anticipate on cross?
Judge, a while?
Okay, you all step on out.
All rise.
Okay, so what does a while mean? Because, let me just tell you this. You can take whatever time you need as far as cross goes, but we're not gonna replow all of this territory again when it comes time for the gang enhancement portion of this. So, my understanding is Detective Neider's gonna come back for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm just letting you know that we're not gonna do it twice. So if you're telling me you need a lot more time, great, I'll give you whatever time you need, but we're not doing this 2 times in a row. So
Well,
you're
Judge,
telling me
I-
how much time do you think you're gonna need?
First, let me just say, Judge, I may not rehash this entire thing with Detective Neider if he's going to be testifying to something completely different when he comes back, but all of these 6 incidents that the state's chosen to, bring to the jury's attention through Detective Neider's testimony, we're now going to get testimony from those particular gang detectives that are not going to be Detective Neider.
I know, I'm talking Detective Neider is what I'm talking about. So at some point, depending upon what it is, when he comes back, when he testifies to, I'm gonna start sustaining asked and answered, just so you know, okay?
Understood.
We're not gonna do this, 2 times in a row. Okay, so at this point, it's already 6 o'clock, and it looks like Mr. Gonzalez is not anywhere close, and then we have 3 more lawyers that have to do cross, so we're just gonna have to wrap it up for today and bring Detective Neider back on, Monday.
Yes, Your Honor, may we request permission to at least have our staff communicate with Detective Neider about plans for travel in
Yeah, of course.
coming back, given
Yeah.
that he's gonna be leaving the stand.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Very good. All right, let's bring our jury back in.